Because that little rebellious nature in me where I was like, I want to do it. I'm going to freaking do it. That was the same reason why I went to beauty school in the first place. You get to choose how you help people in the industry. So whether that is having your own business and creating this unique experience for them, I'm not deaf, but it means that I have a hearing impairment. I think 6 out of 10 of us have hearing impairment. So it's like this genetic thing. Experiencing that myself over childhood, I feel like it was a gift and a curse.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Adaptive Leaders Podcast. Yes, that is right. Adaptive Leaders. So we have changed the name, the branding a little bit of the podcast. It was overdue. It was always going to happen. It's a welcome change. And first female that we're going to add to this podcast is somebody that is near and dear to my heart. The most special guest we've had. Hands down, no one comes close to the podcast. She is a mother. She is a multi-business entrepreneur. She has had a client service business for coming on a decade, and she is an instructor. She has partnerships with a national medical aesthetics studio as well, and trains nationally in beauty. We have none other than Shelley Mae.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast, Shelley Mae, my fiance. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Shelley Mae, give us some early context. What made you you in the early days?
That's a good question because that's very general. I always say that I've lived like multiple lives because each phase is like working on a deeper version of myself, working on and getting to know myself and who I really am without all of these things that have been in the way or that I took on from my journey that weren't really me, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And my entrepreneurial journey has been very synonymous to my personal development and like even my spiritual path. I was very into like finding my spiritual path in alignment with business and entrepreneurship. And I realized after becoming a mom that I became like hyper focused on that. So now I've kind of like zoomed out and seen that working on myself has helped me in every way in business, with as a mother, as partner, as a friend. But let me take you back to I finished high school and I tried to go to college for one semester, like doing things the traditional way, because my parents were like, you got to get a degree and then you got to get a job and then just go this traditional route. And I was like, yeah, this just isn't going to work for me. So I took the beauty industry route. And I remember coming home and telling my mom, I was like, I really want to be an esthetician. And she's like, you need to get a real job. You need to get a real degree. It's just what she knew, right? I think she was literally trying to like give me perspective of what she knew, getting a degree and like working in the system like that. And I'm so glad that I didn't listen to her. I always was kind of rebellious at heart because the beauty industry has helped me so much in learning how to build relationships and learning how to hold space for people. And the beauty industry has like a huge negative connotation for like being drama and gossipy, which it totally is. When you get women together, they are emotional and we're sharing things and whatnot. But I realized that it's actually such a special industry if you can utilize it to be a positive impact, because everybody is going through something. And if you can hold space for them and you can leave them better than when they came into your space, more than just a beauty service, right? Because that's like the superficial part that brings them in. But then to really hold space for them and ask them about their life, like you sometimes become like their best friend that they've never had, And so that's what I love about the beauty industry. And that's what has really propelled me to keep moving forward to, be somebody that can hold space and make an impact more than just making money. The money comes, when you can be that for others.
So I want to focus in on what you said, your rebellious nature. Where does that come from?
I feel like it was innate in me just because the environment that I grew up in, led me to believe that you had to earn love. And so that was like, if you just be a straight arrow and you just listen to the authority and you just do it this way and you follow these rules, and then you'll be happy maybe one day in the future or after you die, right?
Mhm.
And it was a lot of things that it wasn't until later in life that I realized that my natural state of curiosity and wanting to find out who I was and what I was capable and living more in my potential, I realized that I wasn't necessarily rebellious. I just was more curious.
Mm.
But it's because at some points in my life, I felt like I was living in a straitjacket. I didn't feel like I could express myself. I didn't feel like I could be who I was wanted to be, or even figure out what that is, or like follow things that felt good to me or felt right for me or that I wanted to learn more about, because it was against the grain, or just like the mere example that I told you of wanting to kind of go off in a different path and not go to college and get a degree. That's like a very micro example of me wanting to dance to the beat of my own drum.
Mhm.
And I've always been that way. I remember being young and wanting to cut my hair into bangs and like do these different things. And I always remember kids around me when I was younger would be talking about the most, up to date, trendy things. And I'd be off in my own world, not even thinking about any of the thoughts that they were talking about.
And so you mentioned that it was innate, right? So which one of your parents is the more rebellious one?
Probably my mom. She's like more outspoken and uses her energy of aggression more like forward.
Mm.
My dad is more chilled, laid back.
So you got it from your mom.
Yeah, I got it from my mama.
Shout out to your mama, Nancy.
Yeah.
You're more like her than you probably think, right? Interesting how we're more like our parents than we
Especially since
imagine.
becoming a mom. I'm like, oh, that's something my mom would have done. Like good things like that.
Yeah, we're going to get into motherhood at some point during the podcast. So you decided against the traditional path. So let's talk about those early years.
I think the rebellious part of me wanted to prove those who thought I couldn't do it wrong. And I've come to grow out of that. But at the beginning, it was like, no, I want to do this. And so I enrolled into school, and I was also working full time. I had got promoted to being a manager at this like debt collection agency to put me through school. So I was working 4 10s, and then I would wake up in the morning. I'd go to beauty school from like 6 to 12 p.m. And then I'd drive straight to work and work from 12:30 to 10 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that every day for like a long period of time. And there were so many times where I would like break down and call my sister. I'm like, I'm just so drained. I'm so tired. I have no time to do anything. I was exhausted. But then she reminded me, like, this is just a phase.
Mm.
And I've actually been able to utilize that tool of reminding myself when things get hard sometimes, like, this is just a phase. This isn't going to be forever, especially as I've grown and pivoted, and like as we've taken the trainings online and created online courses, you have to like push yourself, right? So go back to that part. So I had a girl in my class that was working as a lash artist. So you have to be licensed in some states to practice eyelash extensions. So I was already going through esthetician school to get my license, because I knew that I wanted to, potentially work for a doctor, dermatologist or something. That was like the beginning. I didn't know that I'd start my own business or anything. And so she was like totally like reeling in the dough. Like she would always, and keep in mind, we're like 19 years old. She drove like this really nice Lexus that was like decked out. She paid for that. She always had like the cutest outfits and like paid to get her hair extensions. Like I was like, dang, you're really making a lot of money. Like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm doing lash extensions. And so I was like, oh, shit, okay, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a class, and it was this is like 11 years ago. So the education has changed a lot in the industry, but I took a course. I sucked at it. Seriously, I think I got 5 eyelashes on. Seriously, I think I got 5 eyelashes on a person, like the first time we did it, in 4 hours.
Yeah.
But I think
that's important too to highlight, because you have students or people that have gone through your course, I mean, thousands of them.
Mhm.
I'm sure you've had students or people going through the course that are like, I suck at this. There's no way this is for me.
Yeah.
So you had a similar experience. You're like,
Yeah.
this is not fun. I'm not good at this. So
But
why did you stick with it?
I stuck with it because that little rebellious nature in me where I was like, I wanna do it, I'm gonna freaking do it. And
Mm,
that was the same reason why I went to beauty school in the first place is because I didn't want to do the same old shit that everybody was doing around me. I wanted to be different. I wanted to live a different life. And so that's why I kept going, even though I sucked, because I was almost like determined to prove to myself that I could do it.
mhm.
And it sounds so silly, like eyelashes, but they're hard. Like you grab the tweezers, you try to get one eyelash, and like it's definitely tedious work,
Mhm.
but it definitely over time, becomes therapeutic and can be fun and artistic, and it's a creative outlet, and it's a way for me to connect with women, and I love it. So yeah, I stuck with it. I did that
Mhm. So you had
eventually.
your rookie years in that industry.
Oh,
It's like
totally.
everything was hard. You were
Yes.
learning new skill sets. The learning curve for those skill sets took months, maybe even years, but you stuck with it. You stayed consistent in that.
Yeah.
And then what was the next evolution of that, right? It was you would have your family members as clients, you were bringing in people from into your home, like you had an at-home studio, right? Like
Oh, not even a studio. I was like, "You lay your ass on the bed that I sleep in." This is how hungry I was. I was
yeah.
like, "You come over. You lay on my bed that I sleep on." I don't suggest
That
that.
OSHA, is that OSHA? What violation is that?
Oh, yeah, something like that.
No, what is the
Yeah, OSHA. I
is
think
that
it's
a OSHA
a health
violation?
violation.
yeah, health
I mean,
code.
I wasn't a dirty person, right? But
Don't
I, I
incriminate
I
yourself.
I did for the people, not some random strangers, of course, like family and friends. I'd be like, "Hey, come lay on my bed. I'll
Yep.
do your lashes."
hmm
And that just comes to show that I was willing to do things that were uncomfortable because I wanted it, and that's the difference. I think that there's a lot of people because you have social media and it wasn't as prevalent when I first started as it is now.
Uh-huh.
You have people that they're waiting, like some of the students that have gone through my courses and we followed and stayed connected to their journey. They're like, "Well, I'm just waiting until I can, get the perfect space and have it be what I want because I want it to." And I'm like, you sometimes have to like start at the bottom, and
Yeah.
do the dirty work to get there, and
Yep.
not in a bad way. Like you got to get in there and be willing to and build your grit and do the hard things to get there, and it will evolve that way. But a lot of people don't want to, number one, suck at something new. They don't want people to judge them. They're so afraid of judgment that they're not willing
hmm
to like even set up a room in their house or something like that.
hmm Yeah. Here's the interesting truth I found around what you're saying, which is you've got to be okay with sucking at something new.
Hmm.
And that's what most people don't want to do, and
Yeah.
that stems even from childhood. We see kids like I've got an 11-year-old turning 12 in 2 weeks, and she at a young age was like, I don't want to do it because I'm not good at it,
Hmm.
and so that it can be something that starts in early childhood and a pattern and a behavior that you consistently are practicing, but eventually you've got to come to the realizations like most things you do that you've never done before, in this case lash artistry, in this case starting a business, in this, right, a lot of these different things that you have never done before, so you're gonna suck, and the people that are in the arena are gonna recognize, hey, keep going, you're in the arena,
Yeah.
welcome, failure is everywhere, right? But the
100%.
people outside of the arena are like, maybe that's not for you.
Hmm.
Like, I've only been doing this for 3 or 4 weeks or 6 months. Like, where do you have the audacity to tell me that I cannot do this or I
Hmm.
shouldn't do this?
Well, I just saw a quote the other day. Someone said the difference between someone being successful and not is their mindset.
Mhm.
Like, yes, you got to put action towards it, but you're not going to take action if you don't actually believe that you are going to get there.
Mhm.
But also, too, you have to instill that into yourself because no one else is going to do it. Like everyone around me, no one in my entire family, I'm ninth out of 10 kids, and I'm one of the youngest. No one in my family did what I was doing.
Hmm.
And so I didn't have a lot of people around me that were like giving me that signal. So I had to go find that online or other entrepreneurial endeavors that I kind of branched out into and like get around people that told me or like helped me open my mind to what
Hmm.
was possible.
At what point did you start having that feeling of like, I can't sustain this client service business? Because at the same time that you're receiving you were getting the most clients, the most consistent with your business, you also were like, I'm burning out. I'm burning the candle on at both ends.
Yeah.
And so, what stage, how many years into it where you're like, because most beauticians, cosmetologists, or anyone that's starting a beauty service business is like, I need more clients. I need more money.
Mhm.
Eventually, you're back to back booked 5, 6, 7 days a week, and you're doing that for a handful of months or years. But then you're like, I need to get out of this.
A lot of the marketing I now see is like, how can you get out from behind the chair when
Yes.
you're starting out on the journey? You're like, how can I be behind the chair for the longest?
Hmm.
Or like how can that means I'm making money, right?
Hmm.
Because if you don't have a client in the chair, you're not making money. I think it was about like 6 years and probably 5, 6 years where I was working like you remember that's when we like first met.
Hmm.
And I was breaking down and I thought the only way was to like hire people. And so I had like, people working for me and I hired like other artists to take on the load. But I realized too that there's a lot of things I needed to grow on with that. That's like a whole different ball game, like being a leader in that way. And
Hmm.
I wasn't ready for that as far as I didn't I wasn't doing the work to be the best leader I could to keep those people on at that time. So I like burned out. I was like working 8, 12 hours back to back. And there's this running joke in a lot of service industry businesses, but especially in the beauty industry, there's this running joke that all service providers, all they drink is like coffee and soda and water. Like that's what we consume in a day. And it's because a lot of times
You're back to back.
you're back to back. You don't
Hmm.
make time. And so I definitely burnt out and that's when we met and I was so excited because I was like, next evolution, I'm gonna do lash trainings. And you were like, why don't we take them online? And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, yeah, that'd be cool. But it didn't land for me at that time. And that's before anybody was even really doing online courses. I definitely felt like it was probably about like 5, 6 years in of back to back to back
You're in this
cycle.
perpetual cycle of work until I can't work anymore, have a breakdown, take a break, go on vacation, come back and do
Do
it
it
again.
again.
Do it again. Yeah, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual breakdown, and then start again, and then do it again, and then do it
Yeah.
again, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna train people because I've had a successful client, book of business for this amount of years. Other beauty people are asking me, how do I do that? What are you doing? What service are you providing? Now you just added more to your plate because now you're working Monday through Friday and then you're working Saturday and Sunday outside of our relationship, our personal life. But in a business context, when you came to me for consulting and you were breaking down like, this is what I make hourly and this is what I make over hourly, but over 2 days for certification and trainings.
Mhm.
And I instantly, from the outside perspective, not knowing one lick of information, your industry was like, why don't you just do that but package it on an online course,
Mhm.
something where you do it once and then you take clients through it, and then it's more passive. Nothing's passive, right? But this is a more passive sense of income.
Yeah.
And the next stage was to have a more hands-off service or offering. It was pretty simple to coach you through that and say, do that.
Then I didn't do it because if anyone has tried to learn technology and create an online course and
Mhm.
you're from the beauty industry, you feel stuck and you don't even know and overwhelmed and where to start and how do I video and how do I edit and how do I even get a camera and then how do I even get the shot and the lighting and then oh
Oh
my
my
gosh,
gosh.
so many things. So I didn't do shit
Mhm.
at the beginning and then you kept like kind of suggesting it to me and I was like, yeah, yeah, okay, like that'd be cool, but like
Mhm.
yeah. And so then finally we came together and this was our first business endeavor. Looking back, I feel kind of bad because I was just a drag. I mean, you were like building this boat and you were helping, and you taught me so much as kind of the kingpin, leading that goal.
That project, yeah.
Yeah, because I thought I was a hard worker, and I was a hard worker in ways that I knew how to work hard, but like sitting down and learning technology and being patient and seeing it all the way through and not just every 5 minutes being like, "Okay, I need to take a break." I remember sitting there and just dreaming about the ocean, and you were just like in it. You were just like editing and doing this, and I'm just sitting there in your office like, "Can we go to the beach now?" Like, and you
It's
had
on
to have like
vacation.
this hard. Do you remember that talk in the car?
Mm.
We pulled up to the office, and looked at me and you're like, "Do you want to do this? Do you really want to do this?"
Mm.
And it was a reality check for me because I think it's so easy to want to do things that you're good at, and when it gets hard, it's easy to want to quit. And you really opened my eyes to how much of a baby I was being.
Mm. I
And
don't
you
think it was
didn't
just
say that to
baby.
me.
It was
You
just
didn't.
like your what your wants and needs, or like what you wanted and what you were doing didn't map, right? Like
They didn't
your
match up.
behavior didn't map to what you wanted.
Yeah.
And so it's like if you're seeing somebody going through these cycles and you're like, hey, this is an opportunity for you to enhance your life out of those cycles. But then at the same time, you see that person isn't committed to that next step or to doing the work.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way, doing the work. It's like you're living in a pipe dream. It's like,
Yeah.
do you really want this, or does it just sound nice? Because to get this, you have to do a lot of you have to, it's going to feel like this. Boom.
Yeah. Especially
Boom.
learning a completely new skill set. It's like I could do
100%.
lashes all day. I could teach. I could show you how to do it. But then, like, being on the back end and like
Yeah.
filming and editing and like putting it in chronological order and creating all of the materials that they would need
Yep.
to download. And then how am I going to get kits? How am I going to
Mhm.
get them what they need? It's
Yeah.
a lot of effort.
Instructional design, videography. And then when you build this and package it, now you have to learn marketing. And then you have to host that product somewhere. So now you're learning about online platform.
That's a funny thing because so many people are like, I'm going to create an online course and be a millionaire. And then you launch the course and it's like crickets,
Yeah.
crickets, crickets. Oh,
Yeah.
now you got to go hunt for these people.
Yep.
And there's so much loudness out there. And there's a lot of courses that suck. There's a lot of people that have come to me that have been like, I took this course and that course and it didn't teach me this or that. And I'm confused. And we've redone the courses multiple times and added other courses to help people evolve in their evolution of lashing.
And this is what's cool is that when you do the work, the universe, God, whatever you want to say, will always reward you at the end of it. Because not only did you launch the online course, that set you apart from every other instructor in the industry. You had a first mover advantage to where when there's opportunities to partner with larger aesthetic companies, they were reaching out to you.
That's a huge thing too, because a lot of people don't give that ongoing support.
Yeah.
And to have that as a resource without having to like use my time, it's been, and to this day is super helpful. You see a lot more people that are creating online courses, but we definitely were one of the first ones. I remember we were literally searching to see where
where's the competition.
Yeah. And this is back in 2017, 2018. So it's been a cool evolution. It's been fun. It's been a challenge.
In hindsight, looking back, was that like a couple months that it took to produce that first course, was it worth it? Was the ROI there?
Oh, for sure.
Right.
For sure. But it was so hard. I'll tell you that. It really, really was. I'm not going to discredit the amount of effort it took to move through that hard thing and get it done and get it complete. But I'm so glad. And we've just built on top of that. And it gave me a skill set to also, for a period of time when I was going more into like life coaching and that type of thing, because I really fell in love with helping people, holding space for them, helping give them feedback and be a soundboard for them when they'd come to my appointments. I really realized how much I loved that and how much it made me feel fulfilled. So then I went into coaching, and then I was able to create online courses for coaching as well. And so that skill set never was a waste. That's the cool thing too. When you push yourself and you move through these and you build a skill set and you become resourceful, then it almost adds to you and what you can do in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole process for me has been summed up into the adapt, adopt, adapt. Adapt to your personal professional environments by adopting the necessary skills to compete, and then becoming adept in those skills to become the best in that environment,
Mhm.
whatever it is.
Mhm.
And and I will emphasize the word compete, because in capital markets, FYI, attention alert, in a capital market, you're competing, even if
Yeah.
you're in a job,
Yeah.
even if and you have an employee, you're still competing against your peers, right? Like there's
So
still
you're
an opportunity that
competing
you could
for
get
the
fired.
yeah.
There's still an opportunity, like somebody comes in is more productive. Your jobs can get outsourced. If you can learn that, it's such a simple thing, but if you can really learn that process, you are an invaluable source for any business, any company, any endeavor, period.
Mhm.
Right? So it's really cool to see that you learned that. So now you're at a place where the online course is live. You're learning marketing. It's successful. You have your first $10,000 in sales with the online course, right?
Mhm.
After learning a specific marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Then you're talking in negotiations for this instructor program, right? And that's the next chapter of this, right?
Mhm.
Or you think the chapter ends. You think, okay, that's it. There's nothing more besides running a successful client service business, digitizing your services and certification programs, marketing to people around the world, bringing in hundreds and thousands of students to the online portals. There's nothing more than that. Well, no, there's another level to this.
They're a national esthetician aesthetics training company.
Mhm.
And so we partnered with them here and in Vegas, um and we're still in partnership with them to this day. So yeah, that's awesome. I love doing that. It's so fun.
Mhm.
And because, we had those courses and stuff, it really helped me stand out from other instructors
Mhm.
that they were looking into partnering with for their school. So my business, Self Image Beauty, is in partnership
Yep.
with them.
Yep. So you have a partnership. You're not an employee of them. You're in a partnership with them, which means you are always competing also, because they don't have to partner with you. They didn't have to be with you for the last 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you are literally competing against all the other instructors that are out there that are wanting to
Hmm.
do what you do.
Hmm.
And you are consistently able to
Yeah.
show up. Your courses and the way that you train and you teach are consistently at the top. You're always given, positive feedback. And
Hmm.
if you ever receive any sort of feedback that is less than positive, you adjust, you change, you adapt, and then you make
Yeah.
it better.
Yeah. It wasn't, yeah, exactly. I just want to talk about that for a second. It wasn't always positive feedback. And I've had
Mhm.
a lot of feedback in the courses over the years that all gave me a signal of how to make it better. I think a lot of the times when we get negative feedback, we want to be like, oh, they just don't get it or whatever.
Mhm.
Like, I'm awesome. And it's really like, okay, how is this feedback giving me a signal of where I can be better
Mhm.
instead of internalizing it? Because especially in the beauty industry, you have a lot of like perfectionism and like insecurities and or like um, imposter syndrome. And so instead of letting that get me down, um, I would always say, how can I make it better? How can I be better?
Mhm.
Because that's what's going to keep me in business, not being, um, discrediting someone's experience because that was their experience.
Yeah, that's so true.
So
It's like you're just trying to be the best version of yourself without having to tear
yeah,
other people
yeah.
down at the same time. Like,
And
I'm
there's
just
there also is a lot of people that just wanna complain,
a
and they
100.
don't wanna do work, and they
Mhm.
don't wanna put in the work because learning lashes is hard, and so if you don't wanna do the work, then that's fine, but that's on you.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever met a high performer that's somebody that is super productive is also has a high level of complaining or victim mindset. I don't think those two can coexist.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. There could be a multimillionaire that's listening to this. Like, I complain every day,
yeah,
17 hours a day,
yeah,
and I still am a multimillionaire.
yeah.
But I don't think that
Well, think about
exists.
energy, right? And your thoughts and what you give your energy to and what you think about, right? Like, because if all day you're thinking about victimizing thoughts or complaining or,
Mhm.
wanting to play the woe as me game, your energy's going there. It's not going into how can I grow? How can I be better? How can we be resourceful? How can I practice? How can I ask for help if this doesn't make sense or whatever? Um, so yeah, you got to be careful.
Hmm.
As I'm saying that, I'm reminding myself of that.
Yeah. So as a leader in the beauty industry, which is a rightful title that you've earned over the last, let's say 10 years, as a leader in the industry, what would be your best pitch for them to stay in beauty and then thrive in beauty?
I think a lot of the times that people are unhappy in this industry is because they're not doing it on their terms.
Mm.
And running a business is hard. And maybe it isn't for everybody, right? So it's not like I'm here to be like, you need to run your own business, because maybe what you love the most is just giving clients an amazing experience, but you are limited to the environment, the business that you work for, or the stipulations or their policies and procedures, right? So asking yourself, what do I really want out of this industry? Because this industry, like even the lash industry alone is this year trajectory is to be like over $3 billion just in one niche in the beauty industry, right?
Mhm.
And so the potential to make money is just amazing, and it's not going anywhere. There is people through COVID, through everything, that still want their beauty services, and they will. I've had people tell me would rather pay for my lashes than my phone bill. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's true. And
Mhm.
these relationships and these experiences that you are able to create. So to answer your question, what do you want out of the beauty industry? Do you want to make an impact? Do you want to help people feel better? I know one of the questions I always ask in my trainings, I ask the students, get clear on why you're here. Because when you do feel burnt out, when you do feel exhausted, when you do feel like, you're having hard clients, or you have conflict with the client and you're having to address that, it's going to be uncomfortable. So what is it that's going to help you see that through? And most of the people, when I ask them, why do you want to be in this industry? A lot of the times it's because they say they want to help people.
Mm.
And so I think that is one of the main highlights, but you get to choose how you help people in the industry. So
Mm.
whether that is having your own business and creating this unique experience for them, which I feel like was my secret sauce, and creating self-image beauty and really pouring into myself and growing myself as a human. That's why I named my business Self-Image Beauty, because it really does come back to your relationship with yourself and how you view yourself and what you see yourself capable of doing and being. But I think that you have to get so clear on what it is that you really want, because there's money everywhere. So if you're afraid to start a business because you don't have enough money, then you can figure that out. If you are drained by running a business because you just haven't, either built the resources, or you're just in a hard place and you really don't feel like you can keep going, like you can still make money in this industry, right? So that's taken out of there. So how can you pour into yourself to be the person and give yourself the experience that you want in this industry? Because you can find clients, you can make money. You just have to get clear with yourself on what it is that you want to be and what you want to do in the industry.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does 100%. Yeah, that was really good. I think also just to point out what you said when you started uh, answering that question, which was the resilience or the recession proof nature of the beauty industry, right? Recession proof, the resilience, it's it's crazy just to know, like, you've had clients that have been with you for 5, 6, 7 years, every 2 weeks come, before they left. And that's insane to think, to have a client for that long, that consistent. Like, they'll do that, like they'll show up, short of their wedding day, to do lashes. And I was like, I'm going to show up even on my wedding day because I want my lashes to be done
Mm-hmm.
for my wedding day.
Mm-hmm.
It's like almost everything. I'm 9 months pregnant.
Yeah.
I need to come in and get a
Oh,
lash
I
filler.
literally did eyelashes on one of my amazing clients. Shout out to you, Jess. I did her eyelashes, and then that night she went into labor,
Yeah,
and
and
then
they're
she
like, I
said
gotta.
they were perfect for the pictures, looking down at my baby, and I just thought, that's awesome.
Isn't that so? So just that's where, even if you're not a woman or if you're not interested in getting in the beauty industry, there's always nuggets for our listeners. We have a lot of male audience, a large male audience predominantly, and so share this with your wife, share this with your partner, share this with your sister, share this with your mother, share this with your auntie, anyone that's looking to do something else, that maybe they want to get out of the traditional 9 to 5 and they want to go out on their own. Share this with them so they can see that there's a ton of opportunity in this space. And it's not slowing down. It's just getting bigger.
And it's fun. Like, it really is fun. I don't like, sometimes they compare people in the beauty industry to like the medical industry. Like, you have so many more stipulations on you when you're like working under that, and you still need to follow like the proper, health and safety sanitation measures and everything, which highly suggest making sure that the education that you choose to go through is a reputable brand like that. But really and truly, you can dance to the beat of your own drum. There's people in this industry that are like really into their rebellious nature, and their branding is like a middle finger, literally, quite literally. That, like, their brand is the middle finger, and then it's tattooed on her fingers, lash.
Oh yeah.
Like that type. And then there's people that create a completely different brand that matches to them, and they can be themselves, and they attract that audience, and they attract those people. And yeah, it's fun. It's awesome.
There's also a therapeutic aspect that you mentioned a little bit earlier as well to the industry, right? And so for the audience to relate to what we're saying to all our listeners, for men, that kind of relationship that feels therapeutic, that feels like you can open up a little bit more, as your barber, right? You have that barber that just knows you've been going to for a few years, and he knows everything about your life, your struggles, your challenges, what you're dealing with in your life. That's also in the beauty industry, right? So with that, you started building relationships and learning psychology and seeing patterns of your clients and seeing, oh, this person consistently is complaining about her relationships,
Yeah.
and it's always other people's fault. Like, what can take accountability? So then you started studying books in psychology, and you picked up a book called Psycho-Cybernetics, right?
Yeah. By
And
Maxwell Maltz.
then that was like a game changer for you.
Yeah. At this point, I was literally like, what type of coach am I? Because I resonated with the whole idea about this self-image, which is this concept that we hold of ourselves beyond the physical. A lot of us don't realize, if you don't have self-awareness, or you haven't been as aware of the patterns and the thoughts that are running in your mind, when you look in the mirror, you are saying so much more about yourself and to yourself throughout the day than you even realize. And that programming is the self-image. It's what you think about yourself. And I remember picking up this book, and I realized, oh my gosh, I'm a self-image coach. That's what I want to be. And it's funny because it really did resonate with all this other work I had been doing to get to that place of where I was after starting my business and going through other relationship challenges, and then us coming together and creating the courses, and then all, healing a lot of childhood things, and that sort of thing. I really resonated with that. So it really helped me create these frameworks to help, hold space for, advise, give feedback to my clients that were struggling. And so when they came to me, it was definitely therapeutic. Like, some of my clients would be like, I need to pay you for therapy and eyelashes. And I'm not like certified or like licensed therapist, and I don't claim to be. But I definitely think that there is so much opportunity in the beauty industry to create a positive impact, and not just being people's hype gal and being like, you're awesome. Yeah, screw him, and all the drama that comes up with these woman conversations, but really and truly giving people, that signal. Like, when the woman would come in and constantly just be complaining about their husband, and I'd kind of switch the script. I'd be like, hey, so what do you love about him? Because I'm here, and if you need to talk about it, I understand there's a time to vent, but like, what do you love about this person that you're choosing to be with? And how can you see that and give energy to that if you're going to choose to stay with them? Or they'd be talking, negatively about themselves. And I'd say, wait, why are you talking to yourself like that? And just be that soundboard. So it is possible to be that.
If our audience, anyone that knows you personally, they know how charismatic you are, how fully self-expressed you are. I mean, you've been cutting your hair in that mohawk style and beyond for what, 7 years, 8 years now, like for a long
Mhm.
time. You've gone against the grain. You've gone counterculture. You have had that rebellious, curious nature for many years. You didn't have a regular upbringing, like in terms of like your nature, right? Like your biology is quite literally different. I don't think there's anything more ruthless than what young women are marketed to by big business, magazines, TV, reality TV, social media,
Mhm.
which is that antagonistic reality that you are not good enough is
Mhm.
more deeply rooted in female gender than it is in male.
100%. 100%.
And so you, because of this biological, what some people would say impediment, it was a silver lining. You have been hearing impaired your whole life.
Mhm.
And so you mentioned earlier, it's like, I'll just do my own thing. It's like quite literally you have been in your own world. In this case, like what's your life been like with a hearing impairment?
Um, this is the first time we're talking about it publicly. I wanted to, but it just hasn't like felt like the right time or just how to go about it, you
Yeah,
know?
break it down. So what does that mean, hearing impairment,
So
for the person
it
that
means that I'm not deaf, but it means that I have a hearing impairment. So my hearing is not 100% of what other people's are. And so growing up, I was ninth out of 10 kids. And to this day, I think 6 out of 10 of us have hearing impairment. So it's like this genetic thing. Um, and it doesn't, the DNA marker that usually is correlated with hearing loss is not even, we don't have that. So we're kind of this anomaly that we're currently in some studies because our history is really interesting to some of these medical doctors of like what it is that is causing our hearing loss and that over time it like does decrease. So yeah, like experiencing that myself over childhood, I feel like it was a gift and a curse, like you said, like a gift in the way where I probably some of the noise and the bullshit like went in one ear and out the ear. I
Mhm.
didn't even hear it, you know? I'm just like in my own world,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
But then it also was a curse and there's certain things that I genuinely feel like I missed out on or like
Mhm.
certain moments of like that would be like a connectivity moment, me feeling completely isolated because I couldn't hear the lyrics to a song or understand what people were saying or feeling left out or from the outside watching and hearing people talk about my sisters like oh they're hearing aids and making fun of them and like
Mhm.
and me being petrified like terrified to even wear hearing aids or have myself seen or needing them in denial about that for so long because it was such a negative thing and hearing my parents get on my sisters about do you have your hearing aids in like and
Mhm.
getting upset about that obviously because they have to repeat themselves 100 times.
Mhm.
It was there was pros and cons to it. I feel like just like anything else,
Mhm.
I feel like I've normalized to it, and obviously having you as my partner, you're like super compassionate and accepting and loving of that part of me, which has helped me. Almost sometimes I forget that I have it, but I'm
Mm.
because I'm so used to saying what. Even Ocean, our daughter, she's 2. I'm like, huh, or what? And she just knows to repeat herself. It's so
Mhm.
funny, but
Mhm. Yeah, so when you're not facing her, and this is what's so interesting is when we first started dating, like I don't we would go to like I took you to a music festival and we did different things. And I don't remember ever being around somebody that got so many compliments. But at the same time, you're getting complimented from left, right, and center, like, "Oh my gosh, I love your hair. Oh my, you're so beautiful." Like all of these things. You were also like because of your
I'm
impairment,
like, "Do,
you
do,
didn't even notice
do, do,
because
do,
and like
do."
so I would be behind you. It's like, oh, she can't hear you. Like we'd go on vacation and people that would like compliment you, and then you'd just walk by them, and then I'll be like, sorry, she's hearing impaired. They're like, oh, okay, because the people would respond like, oh, she's a B, right? For women are ruthless when it comes to that. It's like if I
Yeah.
compliment you, you better say thank you. It's a weird energy, and so
You legitimately had my back.
oh wait, yeah, always, always. And so that I think that's an important part of your upbringing. I do want to ask you when you said there's parts where it was like felt lonely. What were those times like? What do you mean by that?
An example is I was in like the back seat of a friend's van and we were like all to go do this thing, and I couldn't hear what they were saying in the front or whatever, and then I would feel embarrassed because I didn't understand what they were saying, and so I would
Mm.
check out. So part of getting my hearing aids and reacclimating into like hearing better was my brain also doing that, because I had created coping mechanisms
Mm.
of like checking out or tuning people out because I couldn't understand what they were saying. And so that's when I say it was lonely. It was literally like you are in your own world, isolated because you can't hear those people around you, or feeling embarrassed of saying what too many times, or being
Mm.
like, and it's so funny because I'm 30 years old, and it wasn't until like the last years that I've been with you where you're like, you just have to tell people you're hearing impaired so they
Mm-hmm.
can say it louder or speak to your
Mm-hmm.
face. And I think like that is a relief. It feels good to own it and be like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm hearing
Mm-hmm.
impaired. So can you
Mm-hmm.
repeat that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I think that a lot of what I saw on the outside and what I had internalized that
Mm-hmm.
was like negative around being hearing impaired was that you're stupid. Or
Mm.
like you're this, you're that. It's not like people who have hearing impairments aren't often seen as the same as people that need glasses.
Mhm.
There's stigma around wearing hearing aids. There's stigma
Mhm.
around not being able to hear. But also, it makes sense, because how you communicate, how you respond is directly correlated with your hearing.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's been an interesting journey. And yeah, I'm grateful for you for always encouraging me to just own that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's interesting, like, the opposite of what you're saying is somebody being like, "Oh, I can't be your friend because you're hearing impaired," or which is such a silly, like, elementary thing, or I can't go out of my way to make sure not to talk to you the back of your head, or, like, to try to like, I've gotta make sure to be in front of you when I'm asking you a
Hmm.
question. Like, they can't go out of their way for that. Like, is that somebody you want in your circle? Is that somebody you wanna do business with? It's
Hmm.
like, I'm telling you, this is something I have. This is a biological, this is me. I can't change it.
They call it a disability,
Sure,
but I
this is
don't even call it that. I'm just
right, and
like,
I
yeah,
don't.
I'm
It's
hearing
like
impaired.
I see it as a superpower, and that's from the outside, from the outside perspective. So I have no room to talk, but
Hmm.
from my perspective, it feels like a superpower
Hmm.
because I know the influence of media. I know the influence of music. I know the influence of movies. And so, like, when we're talking about even listening to a 90s pop song that everybody knows the lyrics to, you'll say, I'm like, "What do you think the lyrics are?" And then you'll tell me, and I'm like, "It's not that. It's
Or
this."
sometimes yeah, I'm like singing a song. I'm like, do, 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 and singing the words. And they're like, what did you just say? And I'm like, it said this. And then my whole life, I didn't realize I've been singing the wrong words to the
But that's
song.
not, it's not, and that's what I'm saying. It's not bad because if you actually know if you look at the research, if you look at the data, these things have such powerful influences on young minds,
Yeah.
on kids,
Yeah.
on adolescents, on teenagers.
Hmm.
Like, I remember this first time sitting down as a troubled youth, as somebody who was like, gonna be in prison, gonna be dead before they're 18. That was my life's trajectory. I remember sitting down with a therapist and they're like, "What music do you listen to?" That was like the first question. "Why do you listen to hard rap? Why do you listen to this stuff?" I'm like, "I love Tupac. I love Biggie." And like every lyric, when you look back, was shaping and influencing me to a degree, right?
Hmm.
Like, and some more, some less, but mostly every signal you're receiving is in some way.
They say it's like your diet. It's the same thing as your diet. It's
Exactly.
like what you watch, what you listen to is the same thing as the food you put in your body
Yeah.
of how it can impact
So
you.
you had a head start in
Yeah.
in self-expression
In that
and being
way.
able to just be your unique self. And that was one of the things that drew me to you, is like you weren't like anybody else. You weren't like Kim Kardashian wannabe. You weren't like, you know what I mean? You weren't like
I was do do
You weren't
do.
Jersey Shore girl. You weren't the trying to be Ice Spice or whoever's Kim, whatever rap artist was popular. Like, you were just you, and you had been you because you weren't influenced like other people were by
Mhm.
culture,
Yeah.
right? Which is one of the most powerful things on this
Mhm.
planet. So I think it's powerful, right? I think that it is a superpower, is from my perspective. And of course, with great power comes great responsibility. I think it's an important thing to share because there's somebody listening to this. there's somebody that's going to hear this
Mhm.
that has a similar disability, and I'm doing that in air quotes, right, as you, that's like, I cannot live my dreams. I cannot
Yeah.
chase my goals. I can't do that because of my hearing impairment.
Right.
And you have not let that be an obstacle in your way at all.
Mhm.
You don't even tell people that you're hearing impaired.
No,
That's
I
how
forget about it.
it's how much of a growth mindset you've had around it. It's like, it's not even there. Like, don't even worry about it, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it's not even a thought in the
Yeah.
wind. So that's powerful.
Mhm.
And I think that's really important to show people, like, how much you've done. And we're, you know, early 30s, like, yeah, you have not seen anything yet, right? Like, we're just getting started with most of the things that we're doing, which leads into this next chapter of your life. What was the most impactful moment in your life?
Giving childbirth,
Yeah,
100%.
that's not even like, I didn't even have to like allude to that. Just like,
Giving natural, unmedicated childbirth in the
Mhm.
water.
And so now this phase of your life is called motherhood,
Yes.
right? And so what, if you could try to express to people how impactful that is?
Mhm. Well, let me tell you this. You know this, but I
Mhm.
didn't think there were lots of times, periods of time in my life, and when we had first met, especially where I was like, I don't want kids. And I've always loved kids. Like, I'm an auntie. I have 20 something nieces and nephews. I
Mhm.
love them. My job as their auntie was like one of the most fulfilling roles. But I think there's a couple things, the cultural, pressure that, like, if you're a boss, that's more important than being a mom, or that if you're not, moving and shaking and scaling your business, then what are you even doing, because you're just a mom? And I say that in quotes because people say that shit and it just gets me all. I mean, luckily I had my experience in entrepreneurship and working and building a business before I had Ocean, so I could actually compare it. But giving natural birth was the hands down most hardest and most rewarding and most spiritually moving and most amazing experience of my entire life. And then coming into motherhood, really biologically changing so much and realizing the importance of that natural biological imperative of having a family. And it's changed how I view family, and it's changed how I feel about moms. Like, moms hold this world up. Without
Mhm.
moms, no one would exist.
Oh yeah.
And without moms, this economy wouldn't exist. Like, the reason why people can go and
Yep.
dads and fathers can go make the money is because the mom is
Mhm.
taking care of. And it's not all like this. I'm talking in generality, but even the moms that do work, like my sister is
Mhm.
a single mom, and she's providing while being a mom, and it's
Mhm.
so much pressure, and there's so much that goes into that word. But
Mhm.
to sum it up, it's the hardest, most fulfilling job in the world.
I think job lowers it to a level that, that, like,
Sometimes it feels like a job.
yeah, no, I know. What I'm trying to say though is, like, I feel like you're trying to put it in an arena that it doesn't belong. It's in a league of its
Yeah.
own.
It's
There's nothing.
a
No, there's nothing
sacred
more important than
role.
motherhood. There's nothing more important than that role of nurturer.
Yeah.
And like you said, the glue of our economy is
Unpaid mothers.
motherhood.
Mhm.
Is the stay-at-home moms.
Mhm.
That's the glue that holds the entire economy together.
Yeah.
And so if that's not enough, let's just make it clear as day. Being a mom, stay at home or not, whatever it is, like, just being a mom is the most important thing you can do on this planet. There's nothing close. Good job, Elon Musk. You built Solar City. Still not as important as motherhood. Good job, Bezos. You get a package to my doorstep in 12 hours.
Yeah.
Still not as important as a mom
Yeah.
and motherhood.
Yeah. Well, I think also
Just
too,
letting you know. Just letting
even
you know.
the women, there's a lot of women
Yeah.
and like boss babes that multi-million dollar companies that, like, they don't talk about, and they are moms and they don't
Yep.
talk about that. And I respect everybody is in their own part of the journey, because I know that there's people where, their business is their outlet, and that's, what they have chosen to
hmm
view it as. And I sometimes enjoy my time that I have teaching still here and there, and clients here and there, but I'm not working as much as nearly
hmm
close to any as much as I was before. So I think that
Yeah, just
Sometimes women,
uh,
even women that are moms, like, because society and culture says
100%.
if you're not making money, that you're not worth shit, or
Mhm.
if you're not building your business in this way, then you're nothing. And if you want to be with your kids and you want to be raising them and that's your focus, like, freaking respect. I think that that's such an honorable thing, because we have to remember that these kids are the next generation.
But yeah.
Like, where did we lose sight of that? Where did we literally forget that the human beings
Mhm.
that we brought into this world
Mhm.
aren't the most important things to
Right.
be focusing on?
I understand the stigma. I understand the social construct that is moms, like they're undermined, they're underappreciated, they're overworked. For sure, I understand that. But my opinion and my perspective is that is the most honorable, the most important. Nothing you can do better with your time than to be a stay-at-home mom. That's my personal opinion. But that doesn't mean that my opinion overrides
Mhm.
what you experience in culture, because that's
Yeah.
not the case at all.
Yeah. Well,
Like
I mean, it still
culturally,
takes a support system for the mom to be at
yes.
home with the
So
kids.
find yourself a partner that also respects motherhood in the way that it should be respected. I think that's the underlying message. Like if you're not respected for being the nurturer, for being a fully embodied, fully present mom, then you've got to rethink the people that you're surrounding yourself with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also do the work to see it that way, because a lot of the childhood trauma
Mhm.
healing type of journey that I went on to undo these beliefs that I thought around what it meant to be a mom, the word mom,
Mhm.
owning emotions and not realizing that you control your emotions and other people don't make you feel certain types of way. Um, mental training, because it's hard when you're breastfeeding, woken up 6 times in the night, and like you have a newborn and there you're
Mhm.
crying and you're touched out and everything. Like, it takes a lot of mental strength to be a mom,
Oh yeah.
and to go through that and see it through and not project all of that old programming onto your kid, and have compassion for yourself and also know your limits, and all, like, it takes so much to be a mom,
Mhm.
that it that you need support, but also too, it comes down to you doing the work to be the best that you can be for them,
Oh yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I think there's an interesting article that I don't know if it was Entrepreneur Magazine or something, but they try to measure what you would pay a stay-at-home mom or a mom raising kids, and the task doesn't end 9 to 5. It doesn't end at 8 to 4. Like the task continues through 24/7, 365.
Mhm.
So you got to calculate that. Then you got to calculate all the skills and all the attention. Like you can't let your 2-year-old run around by themselves. Like you have to be in the same room almost all the time.
Yeah.
So you're constantly vigilant, constantly aware. You're just dialed in 24/7, 365. At nighttime, you've got to make sure that they're soothed, soothe them to bed, breastfeed, like all those things, right? And so the calculation came to like $150,000 salary is getting close to what you should be paying moms if that was actually a job.
Yeah.
So just put that in perspective. That's 3 times what the average employee or career-oriented individual makes in a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And now you're getting close.
Yeah.
So if anything, they're 3 times as valuable, even in economics, right? Even in the economy, which is an interesting
Yeah.
perspective to have, right? And some people need to hear this. Some fathers, some providers out there need to be reminded, man, this isn't easy. Could you even do it for 30 days by yourself?
Mhm.
Could you do it for 3 days by yourself?
Right.
I don't know. Try it. Try it.
Grow in that vertical.
So motherhood has been really important to you. It's been the most impactful.
Mhm.
Natural childbirth has been pivotal, and health and wellness has been a value of mine. Conscious about what we eat for since we started dating each other, right? Yeah, I didn't really see you reinforce kind of that learning and like really understand it until you became pregnant, right? And you were like looking at how do I make sure my child is the healthiest possible. That was your catalyst to really dive in and read different books and understand nutrition at a deeper level. Do you want to share a little bit about that? Like, what are some of the findings that you found?
So, I guess they're synonymous, right? Like, giving unmedicated birth and the way that our bodies are naturally meant to give birth. and also fueling your body in the most natural way possible to support its natural healing abilities, its natural way of operating.
Mhm.
They go together, you know, and I had been on an up and down and different journey of health and wellness and fitness, and the word health means something different to everybody, right? My word, when I say health, I'm talking differently than the average person that still eats McDonald's and says that, oh, I choose a salad off their menu and that's healthy, right? There's a difference, and there's always something deeper to go. And I think that the reason why I really internalized that deeper health education and desire and like solidifying that I do want to live and eat and move this way, even though it's completely out of the way for most people. I mean, you have to think ahead about, what am I going to eat? What am I going to prepare? If I take Ocean to someone else's house and they're watching her, like, how am I going to make sure she's taken care of so they don't feed her a bunch of crap or whatever? It's a lot more upfront, but then you just live a better life. And so I started, as soon as I got pregnant, I read a book called Real Foods for Pregnancy. And she talked a lot about, like, you're growing a human and like you're literally making flesh in your body. You need to eat these, you know, you need organic, like um pasteurized or non-pasteurized, pasture fed, like good ingredients and meats and things that will help build a human,
Mm.
and take, you know, these vitamins, but finding the ones that were like the most health conscious. And so the reason that I did that was because I realized, oh my gosh, I now have this duty. Like, what I eat, becomes my child. Like, you're
Yeah.
growing a human. And
Mhm.
I think that there's a cultural norm when you're pregnant that get out of free gel card and eat whatever shit you want and just
Yeah.
overeat.
That's so true.
And that was really prevalent because I had a bunch of friends that were pregnant at the same time as me, and they'd be like, I'm eating this, I'm eating this. Like, I don't care, I'm pregnant. And I'm thinking to myself, if this isn't the moment that is the most important for you to eat health conscious, move health conscious, be health conscious, and moving forward, right? To be there for your kids, to not have them to take care of you when you're obese, overweight with all these medical issues. Like, this is the moment, you know,
Mhm.
like this is the moment to live like that because, like, if you can't better yourself for this other human that you chose to bring in this world, like, when are you gonna choose that, you know? So for me, it was more so realizing, like, I'm not gonna eat shit because I'm taking care of a human. I'm growing this human. And then that really helped me align my body. I still worked out until the day before I went into labor. Through the whole pregnancy, I moved my body and I kept up with that. And that, I feel like, gave me a lot of strength to give birth naturally, to have the muscles there strong and feeling strong to bring her in this world. Because my labor was long. It was like
Mhm.
22 hours and
Mhm.
she was posterior, and I did it all unmedicated. And you know, some people think that it's trendy to like give natural birth, and I think it's a trend. And there's a lot of negative things going around are saying, oh, well, you don't get a trophy if you give natural birth. So why would you do that? Where it's not better. So
Mm.
you don't get a trophy. And it's like, to me, my natural endorphins, my natural high, the power that I felt being in my body and my relationship
Ooh.
to what that pain was and bringing life in this world and feeling every stretch and every move, that is its own natural biological trophy that I fucking earned, and no one can take
Mhm.
that away from me.
Yep.
And I know that there's women that go through that experience that have a positive natural birth experience. It changes them forever.
Yeah.
And that's why I love it. And I love talking about it because I feel like there's a lot of people that don't even think about it because they're like, oh, it's not what you do in this medical system. You just go to the hospital, you do what the doctor says, you get the epidural. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying that a lot of the women in my life that had those experiences never talked about birth.
Mhm.
And I went through this experience and I was like, holy shit, this is the most spiritual, powerful experience of my entire life by hundreds. Nothing
Yeah.
touched it.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to like have that fire in me to take care of Ocean and to do things and move through and become a mother and transform. Like,
Mhm.
that whole experience really helped me come into motherhood because I felt I was really in my primal nature and my power. So that's why I love talking about it, because I feel like the other women that have experienced similar things feel the same way, and they want to vocalize about it. And so it's cool.
What a beautiful way to insert a rite of passage for every female, by God, by Mother Nature, like the hardest thing you're going to do in your life, but also the best and most beautiful experience you'll have by a multiplying factor of hundreds, is what you said. And then after that, you're a mom. Like that seems like the perfect rite of passage, you know, like to fully embody motherhood. It's like there's the moment before you gave birth and the moment after, and then you were transformed in those 22 hours in your life.
Oh, even when we came home, I remember looking in the mirror and not recognizing myself. I was like,
I'm new.
Whoa, who is this?
Yeah.
They say with the birth of a baby, you birth a mom. Like it comes the birth of a mom. And then you guys grow together because you're both babies in these roles.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, you know, learning the science and learning the research afterwards, I didn't realize how much physiologically that men change in those containers as well. When your pheromones are different, my pheromones are different too. My physiology changes too. My hormonal levels change too. My prolactin increases, which means my testosterone decreases, which means like there's so many different biological and physiological cues that happen from your partner, or in this case, you going through pregnancy and then giving birth, which are important to rear and to parent and to raise a child together, which is fascinating. I didn't know that. I didn't know that, you know, until afterwards. But that whole experience is something that I think everybody needs to go through.
Yeah, you were like pivotal for me in that, being with me during labor. And I had one other experience when I was in high school. I did an internship at the hospital, and I went to labor and delivery once. And I was, they needed assistance, and one of the moms there was giving birth. And her partner was so disconnected and literally making faces and being negative towards his wife, because when you're giving birth, you're making sounds, you know,
he was like
stuff's coming out both
That's
ends.
messed up.
And he was literally going like, oh. And I literally remember holding her leg being like, you POS. Like, if you're a man and your wife has carried your baby for 9 months and then goes through child labor to bring that baby earthside, like, you better show her some fucking respect.
Oh my God.
Like, man up, you know? Yeah. So, like, I had seen that end, and then the polar opposite when I was going through labor, and you're just the best supportive role. Breathed every breath through me. Did you have chopped lips after? Because, man, we had to breathe so much.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah, we didn't eat, we didn't do anything.
The coolest thing ever.
It was, and that's what's interesting is
bonding.
That I got,
sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's nothing more powerful to bond two people than going through that. That was actually a catalyst for this podcast, which was, so the midwife said had been a part of over 2,000 births, and then the process that we had in those 22 hours, she said that the way that I handled myself was like one of the best, or the best that she's ever seen.
Wow. Yeah,
like a support system, like a husband, or, you know, dealing with their partner or whatever. And for me, that blew my mind, because I was like, what? I didn't do anything. I'm like, I didn't want any credit for me showing up in the way that I did for you. That's just something that I felt was so natural and should be so normal. But that was one of the catalysts before we rebranded the podcast to start it, because it was like, men need to step up. Men need to stop just hitting that low bar. We have such a low bar for men in this society, right? Like in culture, it's like so low. And that's prominent in the way that you see cartoons depict fathers, Homer Simpson, Family Guy. Like, everyone's like a doof, you know. In sitcoms, the father's the I don't know, what's oblivious to everything. And it's like, they're not there to support or show up for their partner, especially in this case. So let me make myself super clear. Fellas, if you or your partner, if your wife, your girlfriend, whatever, is pregnant and she wants to give natural birth, or even wants to give birth through get her baby delivered, the least you can do is show up and be very present to her needs and what she needs to support her in that moment. That's the very least that you can do. that's not going above and beyond. That's recognizing and being a conscientious human being that your partner is going to go through the hardest thing by far that they'll ever experience in this life. And if you're that doof or that guy that's like rolling his eyes when his wife, or you're embarrassed for your wife because she's pushing for labor, or you feel embarrassed in any way, like, you need to look at yourself and say, how can I be better? How can I do better? Because that's the bare minimum you can do. The way that I showed up for you is bare minimum. Not bare minimum. That's like, that should be normal, is what I'm saying. It's like, that shouldn't be something extraordinary. That shouldn't be like, that should just be how every man supports and is there for their wife during that time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was poignant enough.
Yeah. And if you want to go above and beyond, learn, educate, read books too. Read what she's going through. Read how to be a better support. Take a daddy doula class. Go to a birthing class with her. Ask your doctor, your midwife, all the questions of how you can be a better support, because I'm sure they'll give you a lot of signals, And I remember when Melissa, our midwife, had come to do a checkup on Ocean when she was just a couple days old, and she was telling us a funny story about how one of the new dads was like, I'm not going to change poopy diapers. And she had to get in his face and be like, man up, you're a dad.
Right.
You're changing the shitty diapers. If the baby poops on you, that's normal. Keep going. Don't be a baby about it. And I was like, yes.
That's so true. It's so true. And men need that signal too. Men, father figures, you need that signal. So, all right, Shelley. So we could talk about this for the next 5 hours. So let's transition to, what are you doing now? What's next for you? Because you're getting to a place where our daughter is becoming more autonomous, and you don't need to be so hands-on day to day. So what's next?
That's a good question. I've been spending a little bit more energy in other business things and putting that energy also back into the online training. So I'll be launching a monthly membership for our beauty babes. Those of you or anyone that is interested in learning lash extensions or growing professionally and personally. I also have other courses to help grow your self-image and that sort of thing on the online academy. So we'll be launching that for monthly members to go through the courses. Yeah. All your needs in one place to become a boss babe yourself. And trainings. If you have any questions, you want to attend one of our in-person trainings, you can reach out to me, Self-Image Beauty on Instagram. Yeah.
You're taking these historically separate things and you're putting it all under one umbrella, supporting people from afar. And then if they need more support, they can always schedule in-person stuff. So that's a big deal. It's a big deal. That's awesome.
Guys, if your wife, girlfriend, fiance, lover is struggling in life and doesn't know what she wants to do, you can always shoot her over to Self-Image Beauty, start a career in the beauty industry.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that was a good shit. So where can people find you? What's the handle for that?
Self-Image Beauty on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And then personal is just Shelley Mae S, but it's M-A-E. So SHELLEY MAES.
Awesome. Do you want to leave the audience with our listeners with any parting words?
You're stronger than you think. No matter what you're going through or what difficulties come up or what challenges come up, you can get through anything if you really want to.
Let's go.
Whoa!
Thanks for tuning into another episode of Adaptive Leaders. Share, like, subscribe. That will really help us reach a broader audience. But like always, we'll see you next time.